In this video, I would like to do the Christ in the book of Habakkuk and Zephaniah seen through New Testament application. I'd like to do a brief overview of the book, each one, along with that application of Christ seen through New Testament lenses. Habakkuk is a very interesting prophet in that he was wondering why the Lord was not judging Judah. And God replied to Habakkuk, Habakkuk, don't worry. I'm going to judge Judea, and I'm going to judge the Babylonians as well. But I'm using the Babylonians to do it. Habakkuk says, oh no, Lord, how can that be? How can you use such a wicked people to judge my people? Habakkuk then goes into meditation to wait for the response that the Lord would give him. In the midst of that meditation, the Lord speaks to him. Behold, his soul is puffed up. It is not right in him, but the just shall live by his faith. In Habakkuk 2:4. What is significant here in the midst of this declaration of judgment against Judea by the Babylonians is that the just person will live by his faith and the faithfulness that grows out of that faith in the Lord, who trusts him in this circumstance. It is significant to me that Paul chooses this text in the book of Romans in which he is describing the judgment of God that is to come and the need of the righteousness of God. In the midst of this great book, we have the power of the gospel declared when Paul says, for I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God to salvation for everyone who believes, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. For in it, the righteousness of God is being revealed out of faith into faith, or from faith as its source into a life of faith would be my take on that ekpistos eis piston, out of faith into faith. The just, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. This is found in Romans 1, verses 16 and 17. So just as Habakkuk has to live by faith and be righteous in his day in the midst of an impending judgment, so the just today have to live by faith in Jesus Christ in the midst of the New Testament annunciation of the impending judgment of God at the second coming, when Christ returns and the world will then be judged. One who experiences the righteousness of God, that is, the deliverance of God, enters into it by faith and lives by that faith as the Lord gives life to the righteous one. And so receiving this life, one then lives in faithfulness to the one who has given life to him, and that is Jesus Christ. It is interesting that that text is applied by Paul as the keystone of the book of Romans, the just shall live by faith. Then Zephaniah is interesting. It's a small book that deals with the theme, the day of the Lord, Yom Adonai. It discusses the judgment of God against Jerusalem before the Babylonian captivity, as well as the judgment against some of the nations surrounding Israel at the time. It is significant that after discussing judgment in the first 2 chapters, the Lord then says, I am going to restore to the peoples a pure language, that they may call upon the name of the Lord and serve him with one consent. This is a very interesting passage, I believe, in Zephaniah concerning a pure language, a language that is no longer marred with idolatry, but a language devoted to the worship of the Lord Jesus. After the pouring out of the Spirit in Acts 2, when the people received Jesus Christ, they turned from idolatry to the Lord and began to praise his name with pure and clean lips. It is significant. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 1, Paul would then say, you turn from your idols to serve the living and true God. 1 Thessalonians 1:9. Our speech needs to be devoted to the Lord and to worship him with a pure speech. Zephaniah is teaching in anticipation of that day, a turning from idols to serve the one true God. We see this distinctly, I believe, among the Thessalonians who turned from idolatry to give themselves to pure worship of the Lord Jesus Christ and to await his advent from heaven. This should be true of all believers, I truly believe.